So, Soraya, we have a special guest today.
Yes.
Do you want to tell our listeners who we got today?
So who we've got today is David Shaw from Yep Roc Records. Yay! Bravo.
Thank you. I'm here. That is who I am, and I am here.
Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a grooviar.
Let's get groovy.
Okay, so David, we have questions, and so we're just going to jump into it.
Go for it.
The people listening to our podcast are really, really excited. Those of them that don't have it yet, who didn't participate in the record store day in November,
yes,
and are looking forward to this new release, 3x4, which includes covers of bands that are covering. Sound good? Dream Syndicate, 3 O'Clock Bangles, and Rain Parade. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this project came about? And how did it come to Yep Roc?
Yes. So we'll start with how it came about. So, and I think you've heard this from I think Danny Benair spoke to you guys a while back about it, and what he said basically covers it. All the bands got back together for a couple of benefit shows a few years back. After the shows were over, Danny, Steve Wynn, and Vicki Peterson primarily were so kind of excited at having, the Paisley Underground back together sharing the stage, and they thought, why don't we, what could we do, what more could we do, and long story short, they came up with this idea of, and I'll credit Danny, he take credit for the idea of actually having all 4 bands each covering the other bands, so you end up with 3 songs by 4 bands, aka 3x4. I think he told that story on a previous podcast and did a pretty good job. So if you want to hear more details, go back to that podcast. Listeners, that is. The part where Yep Roc comes into it is that Glenn Dicker, the co-founder of Yep Roc Records, had been talking to Danny Benair, because Danny Benair works in the music business. He works with a label that we actually distribute. Our parent company is a distributor. And he was talking to him also about just some other stuff that, I won't really get into, but some other stuff. And in that conversation, Danny mentioned the idea of wanting to do this. And Glenn was sort of like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. He was all on board for it. I was brought in to sort of shepherd this thing through actually happening, getting made as the project manager. And that was mainly because I'm a huge fan of all of these groups, and was the obvious choice to do right by this project, which I hope everyone did.
Nice. So, David, your role at Yep Roc is project manager. That's correct?
So, for the purposes of this project, yes. I recently got a new title, which is physical marketing director, and maybe you could call that worldwide, or not marketing director, marketing manager. And essentially what that is I oversee all physical product for Yep Roc. But my previous role was senior project manager, so I managed projects, and I managed the project manager. So I had a hand in pretty much every project that was rolling through here. And I still do, but because I still keep that senior manager part of the job, it's just not in my title anymore. And I still manage projects.
So can you tell our listeners how this particular project went as far as working with these 4 bands and making this thing come to fruition?
Yeah, I can. So it was a huge challenge for me because and I would say for everyone involved, but for me, when I was coming into it, I had 2 things I was concerned with. One is, as I previously stated, big fan of all of these bands, and really thought this, on paper, this was a really special project. Had not heard the music yet, so the jury was still out on that, to be honest. But I assumed it would be good. But I was, the jury was out. I was like, regardless, I want to do right by these artists because I respect them and they've meant a lot to me throughout my life. So there was that aspect of it. But then there was the other aspect of there are 4 artists involved, and there are 4 artists that are living. It wasn't, this isn't really, I mean, it is a compilation album because it's got 4 different artists doing a bunch of different songs. But I mean, I think you'd agree, nothing like this has really ever been done before that I know of, where the bands are paying homage to each other by playing their songs, playing each other's songs. It's a really interesting concept. But the bigger concern for me was I'm now going to be dealing with 4 artists, 4 different bands, I should say, with, at least 4 members per band. So I'm dealing with 16 different personalities.
Wow.
And how am I going to manage all of that and make sure that everybody's getting, feels good about what we're doing? Because one of the things that Yep Roc as a label prides itself on is, we say we're an artist-driven label, and a lot of labels say that. But I can specifically say we really do work very closely with the artists, and we care very much that the end result of their work, of their art, is presented in a way that they feel comfortable with and that is the best, look for them. In other words, we want to make it the best thing that it can possibly be, and we definitely don't want to play a role in it not being this great thing, and we do everything to foster that. So I was very concerned that it was going to be difficult to get consensus on things, which it has been, but more importantly, to communicate these things and not get caught kind of in the crossfire. I mean, again, if I were getting an email from one band member just to me and the other people weren't involved in it, and it's some key piece of information that needs to be shared with them, I could be sending emails or relaying information from everyone all day long. And I just didn't want to get into that because I knew something was going to slip. So I established very early on, and you may have read about it in the press, this whole Paisley High thing and other stuff they've been talking about. I established very early on that we would have an email chain, and they have become kind of legendary and nightmarish. But I could see no other way. I'm sorry. Did you say something?
I just laughed.
I just laughed when you said it was legendary and nightmarish.
It's both. It was both, because there were some really wonderful moments, and then there were other moments where your head would spin because there's all this back and forth and nobody knows what the heck's going on. But I laid down some ground rules, and I said, look, I'm going to be your project manager, and because there are so many of you, I can see no other way. A conference call isn't going to work. Everyone's going to be talking over each other. I can see no other way to do this. I've never done anything like this before, and I don't think you have either. So here's how I think we should do it. And essentially, I laid down the rule that I would send out emails asking questions, and then everybody would reply all with their information so that everyone else knew what everyone else was doing. I tried at every stage to avoid any sort of behind-the-scenes conversations and gossip and other stuff, just because I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know anyone involved in this. I knew of all of them, of course, and I knew of Danny personally, but only because he'd had conversations with people here at Yep Roc, but I'd never spoken to any of them. And so my concern was getting into it was, I don't know how they're going to interact with each other. I don't know if they even like each other. I don't know any of this stuff. And I want to make sure that we are all upfront and transparent about everything we do. And also, I didn't want to have to be caught in the middle of, can you tell so-and-so that I'm not going to, I just didn't want any of that.
Right.
And none of it was really ever an issue. Yes, there were some there were some conversations that were had that not everyone was privy to, but it was mainly because not everyone needed to be privy to it. If someone, and I'll just leave it at that. There was never any. The most amazing thing about it, and what really, I guess, reinforced my love of all of these artists, is how amazingly cool all of them were. I feel like they're all at a stage in their careers and in their lives where they are just super comfortable with who they are, both as artists and as human beings. And they were always, for the most part, very friendly, and very cooperative and easygoing about everything. There were a few little conversations here and there about how we were going to do this. We had this idea that I threw out early on for a blacklight poster, and I will say this, that Susanna Hoffs hadn't chimed in really on any of these email threads, although she'd been on all of them. But when I kind of had this idea, I woke up one morning and said, we should do a blacklight poster. And that was the first time she chimed in, was like, I love that blacklight poster idea. And I was like, yes.
Nice.
So there were, you know, some fun moments along the way. And someone along the way mentioned how it was sort of like Paisley High. And then we got into this whole description of who, you know, like so-and-so, you know, not Dream Syndicate, the Rain Parade were the Stoners in high school, and on and on. But what was weird, and I revealed to everyone in this nice little reveal, I actually went to Paisley High School in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Oh, get out.
And I swear, and it was a 9th and 10th grade school, and now it's like an elementary or middle school, but there was at a time a Paisley High School. And I did attend it. Ben Folds attended it as well. A couple other musicians from that area attended it. But so I revealed to them and went to my yearbook trying to find a picture of Paisley High or something and sent it to everyone. And they were like flipping out. It was pretty cool.
That's hilarious.
Pretty cool.
So what happened with the blacklight poster? Now you got me intrigued.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a little segue. It's happening. So where there was problems. So I wanted this blacklight poster, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah." So there is going to be a blacklight poster. I had originally wanted to do it as like the old school, you know, the leopard on a branch in Africa with the weird moonlight behind it and the black felt stuff. You know, I really wanted to go for it. But going back to one of the core things with this is wanting everyone to be okay with it. Very difficult to get consensus on what that design would be. We did run through a number of designs that would have been printed as that black felt, you know, classic kind of psychedelic blacklight poster. We just couldn't get consensus. And I had said to everyone from the beginning, if one person isn't really down with it, then we're just not doing it. I want everyone to feel good about everything that's associated with this project. So in the end, a few people weren't into the designs we were sending. We couldn't get consensus. And I wanted this blacklight poster because it is such a cool thing. So we are making a blacklight poster, and the blacklight poster is available now for pre-order at the Yep Roc store. And it is of the cover art of the album. So we're just going to pump up the inks to give them some day glow colors so that if you put that sucker under a blacklight poster, that Victorian woman telling you to be quiet is gonna pop.
Nice.
Or at least the band's names will.
Excellent. I can't wait to get a copy of that.
It's happening.
I'm so excited now.
Can I also clear up, because I think one of the bigger things that listeners are probably wondering is, where the heck can I get this record?
Yes.
And when? So I want to state for the record, because there's a lot of rumors going around. This thing isn't available. It was limited edition for Record Store Day. All of that is rumor. Here's the truth. This album is coming out on February 22nd. It was originally released for Record Store Day, Black Friday, last November on Black Friday, and it was released as a 2 LP set on crazy psychedelic purple vinyl. It's like a purple swirl, and it was also released on CD. It is at this moment, if you contact your local participating Record Store Day store, they can order it. They can absolutely order it for you and get it for you. And the purple swirl vinyl is still available, and the CDs are still available. I know how much inventory we have on these in our warehouse. It is absolutely available, so feel free to go get it. Don't pay $50 to some charlatan on eBay, because they're lying to you. They're making you think it's scarce, and it's not. The other thing is, on February 22nd, it will be available worldwide. So if you're listening right now, it's only available in the U.S. That is true. But so if you're listening outside the U.S., know that February 22nd, it is available worldwide. As far as I know, it's available for pre-order right now everywhere. And we released this as a Record Store Day first. There was nothing exclusive about it. So the same package that was available at Record Store Day will be available on February 22nd. That includes the Purple Swirl vinyl double LP. Again, we knew what the fans wanted. I didn't want to cheat them. I didn't want to make it some super limited thing. This is a celebration of the scene, and we really wanted it to just be a cool piece that lives as that in perpetuity. I'm not going to say the vinyl's never going to go out of print, but we have plenty of them, and we are making more. So it's forget anything you've heard. This record is available now and will be widely available on February 22nd.
That's great news, David. I had a question. Was the original general release date was in January? Is there a reason now it's February 22nd?
Yes. Great question. And it's a bummer because we wanted to do it January 11th. But the reason we moved the date is twofold. One, we weren't sure going into this how many records we were going to sell. I'm a huge fan of these bands, but and a lot of us here are, and I know you guys and your listeners are, but you know, I also know that when I'm into a band, for example, a band like Game Theory, there are about maybe 15 people in the world that care about Game Theory. And actually, I know the answer is probably more like 2,000 to 5,000. Right. But my point is, I don't know. I didn't know going into this who was going to get on board with this record. The other thing is, when we started thinking about releasing this, we knew going into it, as I said it earlier, without hearing it, it is questionable as to how good it's going to be. And yes, it is fantastic. And I know that because I've listened to it, but I wouldn't have known that. And I think I even heard it, you know, when you guys were talking about it after hearing it, that, you know, you agree. And I think everyone who hears it is like, reviews have said this thing is amazing. These guys did their, you know, did right. You know, this is a just celebration of that sound. So my point is, we made what we thought was plenty of LPs and CDs. It turns out that what we ended up with after the first week it was released for Record Store Day Black Friday, we realized we were going to be a little bit short on especially the vinyl worldwide if we released it on January 11th. The other thing we learned, and I don't want to get into the details of how Record Store Day works, but within their window of exclusivity, which is 6 weeks after Record Store Day, which in this case was Record Store Day Black Friday, 6 weeks would have been January 4th. And I thought, okay, January 11th, cool, we can sell it. What we can't do is have our sales reps out soliciting it. So we wanted them to have the ability to go back to stores, tell the story of this record, and really, again, do it justice. We could have released it on January 11th and have run out of LPs immediately, aggravating fans and retailers. And we could have also not done justice to the record. In other words, had people be able to sell it properly to stores and explain to them what's going on, and also be able to share with them all the great press and things that are happening and radio things. It also gave us more time, because we weren't up against the holidays, to do some amazing things. There are going to be some really cool radio things coming up with these artists that I highly recommend people tune into, but you'll just have to figure that out on your own, because I'm not going to plug radio stuff on this show unless you guys ask me to do that.
Well, that's kind of a good lead-in. So we've been seeing some pictures in social media of these bands gathering together over a couple weekends ago. One of the pictures included a striking young man in front with jazz hands.
That would be me, yeah.
That would be you. So we've been told that this was for a recording for World Cafe.
That's right.
Performance.
That's right.
Can you tell our listeners anything about that, or is this something that we have to wait to hear about? Or?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't. Yes, so I can tell you exactly what that was, but I can't tell you any more than that because I don't know any more than that. Okay. So we were all in the studio recording something for KCSN. We were at KCSN. If you looked at that banner in the background behind Jazz Hands and the Paisley Underground, you would have seen that. And the other thing was World Cafe. And there was even another thing that's like this classic rock syndicated show that Susanna and Matt Pucci did, that'll be airing at a later date as well. In all of these cases, I have no idea when they're airing. As of today, as we're talking, I don't know when they're airing. It'll probably be closer to the February 22nd release date, because that makes sense. I mean, right now there's a bunch of press hitting, and again, people are sitting around going, I can't buy this record anywhere. Why am I reading all about this record I can't buy? It's not exactly true that you can't buy it anywhere, but it will be even more absolutely true that you can buy it everywhere closer to February 22nd. So the idea is to have them hold that back closer to that date, so that, again, we have the best shot at people not being frustrated, like, hey, I loved what I heard. I wanted to buy the record and I couldn't. Oh, well, next. And they move on.
Right.
That's how it works these days.
Right.
So there was a rumor that the record was actually landed on the Billboard Top 100. Do you know anything about that?
That is not correct. It did land on the Billboard rock charts.
It did.
And I can't remember what number it was, but it wasn't the top 100 album chart. No.
But
it might have been, had we released it all at once and not messed with the Record Store Day Black Friday thing, but that wouldn't have been nearly as fun.
But it did land on a Billboard chart.
It did. It charted, yeah. Nice. And hopefully it'll chart again when it comes out February 22nd.
Let's hope so. Soraya, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask?
Yes. So, first of all, David, we want to thank you for joining us and giving us all this data. So just to review for you listeners, one, if you live somewhere other than the U.S., you can pre-order this album that will be released on February 22nd. If you live in the U.S., you can go to your Record Store Day store and order it. And the same items are available, the 2 LP set and the CD. And pre-order on the Yep Roc store the black light poster that I'm sure Jeff and I are going to run over and do once we're done. But more than anything, we really want to thank Yep Roc for granting us the right and permission to use one song in full, which is Tell Me When It's Over by the 3 O'Clock covering Dream Syndicate, and the 3 other 60-second samples of 3 other songs by the other bands that you're going to hear on this episode. Again, one big thank you to David Shaw, to Yep Roc Records, to the 3 O'Clock, Dream Syndicate, Rain Parade, and the Bangles. And Jeff, anything else you want to add?
I do have one last question.
Sure.
And that was, creatively speaking, what was Yep Roc's involvement? Did you have anything to do with the sequencing? And in what capacity did Yep Roc play as far as the creative?
Yeah. So a couple things. The artwork was designed by a guy named Phil Lloyd Smee over in the UK. He's designed a bunch of great packages, and he did a great favor for us in doing that. But for us, I mean the artists really, and for Yep Roc, but he did it because he loves those artists. I actually sequenced the record, both the LP and the CD. Danny and I came up with the idea of doing something weirder with the LP package, like not having it be the same sequence, and also putting all bands on one side. I think it was my idea, and I don't remember. It doesn't really matter because it was kind of a brainstorm, but I think it was my idea to put each band, and that would be the songs of that band that band originally did, covered by the other bands, on one side, as opposed to, say, the Bangles having all of their songs that they covered on, that they performed on one side. The idea here was to divvy it up in some weird way on the vinyl that was different than the CD, which paid homage to the era, especially if you remember some of those 3 O'Clock records, especially the Salvation Army record, which had the crazy psychedelic swirl thing on it on the one side that was like, freaking out. And then if you remember, it had the run-off groove that just went right into the groove and repeated over and over again. We wanted to pay homage to those sort of tricks. So we changed up the thing. And then I know Danny specifically said that he was like, yes, and instead of A, B, C, D, let's do like B, we'll do the first letter of each band name. So that was his idea. And then in terms of sequencing, the reason I took the reins on that is, again, I was like, wait, 16 people arguing over what the sequence should be. And I specifically asked and laid down the rule. I just said, look, I don't want to put anyone in there. I think it's just going to cost too much. You should have a third party sequence this, and we should do it. I asked Glenn if he wanted to do it. Glenn, the co-founder and co-owner of Yep Roc Records, and he said, "No, man, you take a shot at it." And I did it, and I tried. What I tried to do, if you listen to it, the four sides of the LP was pretty easy to do. I mean, it just makes sense to have that 3 o'clock track open the Bangles side, and I think it makes sense to have it open the CD. It just kicks so much butt. It perfectly, I thought, introduced this record. It was an upbeat track that sounded like classic 3 o'clock, although it was a Bangles song. And then, but the CD sequence, what I tried to do was play this little thing, and you'll catch it early on. It starts with the 3 o'clock covering the Bangles, then the Bangles, I believe, covering the Dream Syndicate, then the Dream Syndicate covering, and so on. And I tried to make it work that way, but it turned out what was more important to me was that it sounded right, the songs going together, rather than play that trick. Right. So that trick worked for a little bit, and then when it got into the especially the Rain Parade psychedelic stuff, I just decided, let's make the center of this CD just a crazy mind trip. So I did intentionally go for that, and then I also wanted to go out with a bang. With the Dream Syndicate covering She Turns to Flowers. And I also like the idea of that final line, she is no more and there is no more of the record. So, I mean, it was all, I did think it out, maybe a little too much, but I hope it works.
Nice. It absolutely did.
Cool.
All right, Soraya, sorry to throw in that last question.
No, I think it's an important question.
I'm sorry for the long answer. I'm sorry I'm so long-winded.
No, David, you've given us the answers that I think a lot of us and a lot of our listeners are just asking for. So thank you so much. And sure. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the insight, and also for all this great information about the upcoming release and these pre-orders that you can do at the Yep Roc store.
Yeah, yeproc.com, by the way, just to plug that in there. And it's YEPROC, based on a Slim Gaillard song, Yep Roc Harisi. Look it up. It's not some Flintstones reference. It's actually to an old jazz musician, for those wondering what the heck the name of that label is.
Nice.
Little extra trivia for you. You know, I got to say, a lot of trivia gets answered in those liner notes. And I forgot to add, I asked them to write those liner notes, and I'm glad I did, because everybody seems to love it.
Yes.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, we were going to get a bio writer to do it, and in the end I was like, nah, it's better you guys just write it. It's your thing. You lived it. Tell it.
You may have noticed we've scoured over those several times.
Oh my God.
So did I. And the other thing I love about it, and I'm sorry, you guys can kill this part for the podcast or not, but because this is a really a passion project for me. Most of my projects, all of my projects are, but this one touches my 13-year-old self that came across wrong. But in any case, what I'm saying is that those liner notes, if you read them, and I'm sure you guys have, you start seeing the threads of how all of their stories interconnect. You know, the trip to Catalina and all that stuff. And I love. I mean, Steve Wynn, or the Dream Syndicate, I should say, covering Hero Takes a Fall is just a classic, awesome moment. What a and the story is inside those liner notes, so it's pretty great.
Wow! Right?
Yeah. So, anyway. David, once again, thank you, and gente, a groovear.
Let's groove on, Paisley people. Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to all of you Paisley people out there. We really appreciate the support, and again, I'm one of you. So this was a labor of love for me, and I appreciate what you guys are doing with your podcast. It needs to be done.
Thank you so much.
Glad to do it.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello, Soraya. This is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
You ready to do another podcast?
Let's do it.
We missed last week because we were busy. For Black Friday, we were all getting together at Freakbeat Records in Sherman Oaks, California for the release of 3x4.
Hell yes.
Hell yes, we were. Anyway, so we've got special guests today, so let's get the ball rolling.
Bring it. Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage, Raspberry, and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a groovear.
Let's get groovy. So on Black Friday, you and I met up with our friends, Dean and Joy, at Freak Beat.
Yes.
First in line.
Hell yes, we were.
Yes, we were. Well, we've decided to invite those two on our podcast today so we can all talk about this amazing release all together.
Absolutely. And number one, if you don't have this yet, if you weren't one of the fortunate ones to go out on Black Friday, Record Store Day, and get this, boy, you are in for a treat to have it in your hands come January when it gets the mass release. This is a fantastic album, and we can't wait to talk about it with Dean and Joy, and let all of you hear our amazing thoughts about it. So
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's give them a call.
Hey!
Here we are.
3x4x4.
We're all here now. Okay, good.
All right, great.
Well, you guys are worth the effort.
Well, we're all here, so today we're going to do our 3x4x4 episode. So we all got together on Black Friday at Freak Beat Records in Sherman Oaks.
First in line. Don't let anyone tell you different.
Exactly. So, Joy and Dean, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Oh, man, thank you for having me. Yeah.
We're so glad that you guys are on the call. So what we decided to do is go through all of the songs and talk about what we each think of it. But I thought first what we would do is just talk in a general sense without going into any song specific, what we all thought about it as a whole. So I thought we could start with Soraya.
First of all, I really love this album. Long overdue, in my opinion. And I remember hearing rumors of this project, and I was ready for it. I wanted more. And so now that it's here, every day I listen to this at least 2 to 3 times, and every new listen brings something really great to me. And it just reminds me of how good this music is, how good these groups are, how much more I want to see them play. I just want more music. I want more. I'm greedy. I ain't gonna lie. I'm greedy.
What about you, Joy? What do you think of it?
Oh my gosh! Well, I've been waiting for this for over a year. Over a year now. Yeah. And so it was. I don't know. I'm greedy too, and I have very little patience, and so this was so worth waiting for. I love all these bands, and it was really fun to see how each of them sort of interpreted their favorites, by the other bands. So I've been listening to it. There's a couple of songs that I'm actually that I'm actually obsessing over, and I just think it's an A+. I like it.
Nice.
100%.
And Dean, what about you?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I first heard that the 3 o'clock were recording, I was getting all hyped up for a new 3 o'clock album with new music. And so that's where my energy was going. And fortunately, the concept is so strong that when I found out they weren't going to be doing a full album and it wasn't going to be new original songs, I got even more excited because it was a concept that just unheard of, like the bands that were together, kind of commenting on each other's music through their music is a beautiful idea. And I was not disappointed with the fact that it was not a brand new 3 o'clock album.
I mean, that's great. I mean, the only other thing I want to add is that I love in the album liner notes that if anybody has any question as to what the Paisley Underground is, this should put it to rest.
Yes.
Don't we all agree?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Even Steve Wynn in his liner notes refers to Green on Red as Paisley adjacent, which is no diss on them. They're great, but not a genre, but kind of like a mini scene of these bands that hung out and had like this common thread that they based their music on, and, it came out of, and just finally Danny is not alone in saying what it is.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, it's also kind of funny how quickly they moved on. I mean, like, you look at the timeline and stuff, and the original kind of like being, comrades and music and everything, that didn't last very long on our timeline. But this timeline to get here now, it just feels like it was the logical conclusion.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So my thoughts, and yeah, Dean, you reminded me of that when the 3 o'clock were posting that they were in the studio. I also thought they were working on a new record. I thought it was probably going to be an EP or something, that they weren't at any point where they were going to do a new album. But I did think that it was totally original music. But on this recording, when I first heard about it, I was super excited that they were doing this project. It's a very unique idea. But then a little bit later, I got a little bit nervous because all of these songs, these 4 bands are super important to me. And the original recordings I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of times and super meaningful to me. I was a little apprehensive about what's going to happen when there's new versions of these. They can't be any better than the originals in my mind. So by the time it actually came out, I was very excited and a little bit apprehensive that they were messing with my songs.
I had the same thought, and I'll probably bring that up later.
Nice. So
also, because some of the bands have some really extreme stylistic differences, so it could easily not work.
Yeah.
I mean, if you try to play like Medicine Show, against any of the Bangles albums, they're night and day, in tone and in mood. So it could have been a train wreck.
Yeah, it definitely could have. But I think it was a very successful project.
Very.
Like you guys, I've been listening to this all week since the 4 of us picked it up. And I did want to note that the track listing is different on the CD than on the album. We're going to go through each song in the order of the CD. But the album was released with 2 records, and they broke it into 4 sides. A side B for the Bengals, side R for Rain Parade, side T, and side D. I was misunderstood because when they expressed that idea, I thought originally that side B would be all of the Bengals recordings, but instead it's the 3 Bengals songs performed by the other 3 bands. Right. So I actually would have preferred if side B would have been the 3 Bengals songs, so you could put on that side of the band that you wanted to hear do the recordings. But nonetheless, I thought it was a great idea to break it up into the sides.
Well, I actually like the way they have it. I actually don't have a problem with it. I like that.
Nice.
I like how it's all, their interpretations of one band on one side. I thought it worked.
It definitely works. So let's go through each of the songs, starting with the 3 o'clock Getting Out of Hand. Soraya, did you want to say anything about that song?
Well, first of all, that and Mary Street are things that I have really just heartfelt connections with. And it's such a fun, playful song, great pop song. And 3 o'clock covers it. And I think they really do it justice. And you and I, Jeff, have talked about a live version of same song with Michael on lead vocal. Like they just kind of pull him up and say, okay, hey, here you go, Bengals with Michael Curcio. And I thought it was a great way to kick this off. And just so that we're clear, the listing that we're going through is the CD listing.
Correct.
Yeah, just so that...
But it opened both CD and vinyl, so it was that kind of perfect opener that even though we're following the CD, it is the vinyl kind of opener too, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought we were following vinyl, but that's good. It's fine. I'll flip around in my notes.
Sorry about that. That was our original plan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But you're right. It's the same song, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it kicks it off in the right way. Kicks it off with the right energy. And I don't know. I can't say enough about this opening track.
I did want to know from the liner notes that all of the 3 o'clock songs were produced and engineered by Earl Mankey, who produced Baroque Hoedown for the 3 o'clock and 16 Tambourines. And the 3 songs were recorded at Earl's Psychedelic Shack. So that was a return to that studio and producer. And in the lineup for all of the 3 o'clock songs are Danny Benair, Louis Gutierrez, and Michael Corcio from the original band, and Adam Marin, who's been touring with them the last 5 years.
And is fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely the perfect opener in tone and in just really getting that sound.
So it's a little bit different than the Bangles version, right?
Yeah, the Bangles version to me is more directly connected to that 60s feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the 3 o'clock definitely honored that, and you have that flavor, but it's more of an updated version of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the way I would put it, but definitely does it justice. It's definitely a good way to start things off. I would agree with that. And I guess in the liner notes they were saying they had some other vision for it, decided, no, that doesn't work. And then, Michael's always introducing all of us to the consortium with these bands. I had never heard of Amen Corner before, so I had to look them up. He was saying, Amen Corner, let's do it like that, and listen to one of their hits, which is called Paradise is Half as Nice, and I can see why that sort of sound, if you're not familiar with it, YouTube it, you'll see why that totally works for this song. The harmonizing.
Well, I know what I'm doing when I get off the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that I noted when I listened to it, there's a little false ending that they do. So normally the song would end, the Bangles version at least, but the 3 o'clock throw in this little extra couple notes at the end. So it's like kind of like a Beatles false ending. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that brings us to track number 2. I did want to note that the 4 of us, we decided that we were each going to pick a song from the CD that we wanted to play on the podcast. And so track 2 brings us to Dean's pick, which I think we should play before we talk about it. But one thing I did want to note before we play it, in the credits it says that Annette plays the demon harmonica. So as we play it, listen for that demon harmonica. But
the demon harmonica.
Yeah. Or I think they called it a demonica.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Right, demonica.
So this is Dean's pick. So we'll let Dean introduce the song and we'll play it, then we'll talk about it afterward.
Yeah. Actually the first time I heard a Paisley Underground band was hearing That's What You Always Say on college radio. And I don't know if it was like the distant signal or that kind of witty bass sound from Kendra, but it almost felt like a sound from the past trying to force its way into the present. And I just will never forget that moment and listening to it. And that bass line always brings me back. So when you hear this opening bass line, picture me at whatever I was at the time, 18, probably a little comfortable in my room, and my life kind of feeling a little changed.
Nice. So, this is the Bangles doing the Dream Syndicate's That's What You Always Say. So, Dean, I don't know if you were wearing headphones when you were listening to it as a young lad, but that's how I picture you, on your bed with headphones listening to that.
I might have been. I did listen to it was late at night, but I actually think it was probably just loud trying to wake my parents up.
Such a rebel.
Yeah. Oh, that bass line still, it just does it to me. And I mean, they stick really close to the arrangement there, and that's fine by me. And especially knowing that's, Annette on the bass just makes it a little bit cooler.
I agree.
Shout out to Vicky for that guitar in there. definitely kept that edgy feel. Like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So in the liner notes, Vicky says, there were these background vocals that had a creepy doll in a horror movie sound. When we recorded our version, I wanted a little of that. And when it came time for the solo, I turned up the amp and let the guitar howl. And then she goes on to talk about Annette.
She did.
Yeah. Yeah, so the lineup for all of the Bangles songs were the original lineup: Susanna Hoffs, Debbie Peterson, Vicky Peterson, and Annette. The lineup for their first single and their first EP. So like Dean said, it was really cool that they all got together to do this project. And I think it's the first recording since the original EP that Annette has played on.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I'm in my little imagination, I hope that this whole thing got born out of the fact that she joined them on stage at the Roxy shows last year.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see her come out and play a few songs with them.
Yeah, that was really cool. But like Dean said, this version is pretty true to the original. One thing that I liked that set it apart were the Bangles harmonies. And that's one thing that I know them for that's different from the Dream Syndicate version. I thought that was really cool.
Right, yeah. And it still works so well.
Yeah, it really does. Did you guys have anything else to say, or should we move on to track number 3?
Let's go.
Let's do it. So track number 3 is the Dream Syndicate doing Rain Parade's You Are My Friend. What do you guys think about this track?
I love it.
It's so good.
I adore this.
Really?
I think I'm a big hater, but I adore this. My first exposure to Rain Parade is through the Wharf Rat Tales record. I had a boyfriend prominently featured on there, and so I had the album for that reason, but Rain Parade stuff just blew me away and, you know, of course made me dig for more. But I think this is my favorite Dream Syndicate contribution on this album. Oh. I just thought it was really good. The liner notes said that when he first heard this song, Steve Wynn said when he first heard this song, it broke his heart. And I know I felt the same way. And I can hear that. I hear that when Steve sings this. I just thought it was outstanding. I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's my favorite Dream Syndicate contribution also.
Yeah. I was just going to add something, Joy, because the way you kind of led us through that discussion, Steve's vocals are earnest. That was the word that just kept coming to me. It was like, I just found him to be a very earnest voice for this song. And, you know, and then you go back and you read the liner notes and you kind of see that connection that he has, and you can hear it in his voice. You know, it's something that means something to him.
Yeah, and you know, I connected with it the same way. And so, you know, hearing him say the same thing and then hearing his voice, you know, that it just came full circle for me. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it's great too. And this is another one that's fairly true to the original, I thought, other than Steve's voice and what he brought to it. So it has the same opening chord as the Rain Parade, but as soon as it starts playing after, I'm expecting to hear Piucci's guitar riff, and it's a little bit different. So this is one of those where my brain is programmed to hear the original, and it's something different. It's a different interpretation, what Jason Victor brought as the lead guitar player on this one. So the first couple times I wanted to hear that original lead, but after listening to this throughout the week, my brain has adapted to this version, and I love it, like you guys. It just sounds great.
Have you guys gone back to any of the original versions since, like, in this past couple of weeks, or have you been...
I did it today, actually, for the first time.
Oh, wow. I haven't done that. I've just been listening to this alone.
Yeah, you know, people were saying there is, when you buy the album, the vinyl, at least, comes with the free upload, you know, or download of it. And so a lot of people are taking that and going to Spotify, and then, you know, it's not a public thing, like I can't access yours or whatever, but then they're matching the original to the new one. Ooh, and having them in their own personal playlist so that they play back to back. That
sounds like a fun listen. So Dean,
yeah, I just want to be able to hear someone else do it because I don't have the patience to do that.
Yeah. So what about you, Dean? Have you gone back?
Well, like Joy, today was the first time I went back, but I only went back to the Dream Syndicates, that's what they always say, since that was my pick. And I was like, let me just kind of refresh myself on the original one. So just that one song.
Right.
And it was really weird hearing it, though, after just absorbing the Bangles of the past couple of weeks. And, so I felt like part of it felt a little new, because now I'm just like, you were talking about conditioned, you're conditioned to hear a certain thing. I'm already getting a little reconditioned. So that's why I'm kind of interested now to go back and maybe do what Joy was saying in the Spotify comparison, because I think it will bring out things from the original songs that we didn't get, or even just the stories. I mean, like going back to You Are My Friend and reading the liner notes on it, I guess I never really placed it into the context of the bands falling apart and the various relationships and the way that people split off and were together, and the whole, the whole Mazzy Star thing. It just added an extra layer of melancholy to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to hear that when I go back to the original one.
Yeah. I didn't realize that for all of these years, that there was that personal heartbreak.
But see, I didn't either, listening to it off of Wharf Rat's Tale, and it still had that feel. Now it just cements that for sure. Mm-hmm. But it still had that feel to me, that it was just, heartbreaking.
Yeah, like you guys...
to hear that somebody, you're my friend and you think that I stabbed you in the back, just...
Yeah, Steve definitely
intense, I think
Steve definitely captures that emotion in his performance of it, for sure. Okay, so let's move to the next track. Soraya, do you want to introduce it and we'll play it and then we'll talk about it?
Sounds good. So the next track is Rain Parade's version of As Real As Real.
Telescopes surround time. I'm telling everyone we live high and you look towards the sun. Oh, and it's hard to be with you. It's hard 'cause you don't see.
Soraya, why did you decide to pick that song?
Sorry, let me just come back down to earth. The 3 o'clock version is such a dreamy song. It's really ethereal. And first of all, I picked it because I liked it a lot. This and When You Smile are, right now, top 10 of my Rain Parade cover hit parade. And we played When You Smile. So I wanted to show the other track that I'm really enjoying. And it's this version of As Real As Real. And it's a song that, like everyone said, I'm pre-programmed to hear, Ben Air's drums and have that mark my journey through the song, and, Michael Curcio's vocals. I know how this sounds. I can hear Louis guitars, I can hear Mike Mariano, I hear all of that. And then I said, okay, so now let's see how this goes. And I have to read the liner notes, so indulge me. A lovely song with lyrics that are at once nostalgic and childlike, melancholy and hopeful. We live high and you look towards the sun. Yes, we do. It just seemed obvious, perfect for Stephen's voice. On this one, we could walk to work. We adore this tune as it has everything we like about psychedelic music. So it was that one sentence. On this one, we could walk to work.
Yeah.
It was as if this song was really a perfect fit for Rain Parade, and for them to put that Rain Parade spin on it, because I still had that drum beckoning me into this song. But Rain Parade made it a Rain Parade song too, and they still kept it very dreamy and very ethereal. But, you hear Pucci's guitars and it just kind of goes and, it takes you away. And there's everything that I love about this song. And I love the original version, and I'm really enjoying this cover.
Nice.
So that's why I picked it.
Also, we find out from the liner notes that Debbie Peterson and Vicky Peterson join in on background vocals, which is pretty cool. that.
And Danny Benair plays tambour on it. So it was like this family gathering on this song.
That's pretty cool.
It was awesome.
I really like the...
Perfect choice for Rain Parade.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They shine on this one. They really, really shine. I mean, yeah, it's just the perfect choice.
I felt like of the three...
It is for them, yeah. But it also seems like a really left field choice of a 3 o'clock song. I would not have guessed that somebody would have picked that song in there. Like, let's pick, 3 songs, and that would be one of them. But it was such a perfect fit that it makes 100% sense.
So, Dean, let me ask you then, because now you've piqued my curiosity. You know Rain Parade. What 3 o'clock song could you have imagined them covering that they didn't cover?
Oh, God. I'd have to look into that, because I would just... That's a tough one. But, I mean, I guess just because a lot of the stuff I think of is a little bit more upbeat, and I always hear, like, the bass in it, and that song, you said ethereal, and yeah, it is, and it's not the first word I think of when I think of the 3 o'clock. It's there, it's part of their sound, but it's not the first word that I think of. But it would be maybe one of the first words I think of when I think of the Rain Parade, which is why, that makes a lot of sense.
Got it.
I really liked the reverb that they added to... There's a tambourine part in there, and it makes it sound even more psychedelic with just drenched in reverb. You just hear like this one little clink, and it just has... It feels like it's in like a huge empty church or something. And then with Piucci's Eastern style guitar playing, it just sounds super trippy and cool. But again, this was one that I've heard the 3 o'clock version from Baroque Hoedown so many times that at first it was a little difficult to accept. And then it's so good now. I love listening to it. When we were just listening to it right now, it just sounds great. So good. Okay, so let's move on to the next song then. So this is Joy's pick.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so my pick is Tell Me When It's Over, which is the 3 o'clock covering Dream Syndicate. And we were talking earlier about the fact that the album is organized by sides of, so the Dream Syndicate side, where all 3 bands cover one of their songs, that right now is my favorite side. And I think that is a testament to Steve's writing. I mean, you can say he's a songwriter, but the guy's also clearly a poet.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how, you want to interpret any of that, but it just really is a testament to his writing. It's just incredible. Anyway, to me, this is such a good song for the 3 o'clock to pick. And I read somewhere, was it in the liner notes? I think Sue Hoffs might have said it, that there might have been a little bit of bantering back and forth, who gets what song. I have to imagine this would be the one that they would fight over. I don't know that for sure, but Michael has a knack for knowing what the perfect song is for them to cover. Think Wild Honey, Tomorrow Never Knows, that kind of thing. He knows. What blew me away wasn't just the fact that this was a great choice and that they could psychedelic it up like they do, is that he starts out with that lower tone, that lower register. I have never heard him do that before.
No.
Think about when you try to mimic, like, especially like Soraya and I, if we're trying to mimic a guy and we talk low and it sounds like forced and it's uncomfortable, it's effortless for Michael, which means that this is part of his vocal range. It's just that he doesn't use it that much. And I love the nod to the fact that that's, Steve Wynn's voice, who starts off, with a nod to Steve Wynn, and then it's so good and so natural. And then when the chorus comes, he just soars into that familiar vocal range and even goes up and beyond what I knew he could do. I mean, who knew MQ had that kind of a range?
Yeah.
And here's a little tidbit for you. I was talking to Michael, and he told me that the vocal that you hear was the guide vocal that he laid down as the band was laying down the basic track. It was done completely live. No overdub, nothing.
I love it. Even more.
Put that in your MQ pipe and smoke it.
Wow.
Holy
Wow.
bloody fucker. That is so awesome.
That is cool.
I know.
That's really cool.
So keep that in mind as you listen.
Yeah. And then we did want to note that this was one song that has a different version on the CD than it does on the vinyl. I think, Dean, you were listening to it intently, right? So the difference between the two is what?
Is kind of like the last, just the end that fades out on the CD, and on the vinyl it goes on like almost another minute, and it just kind of more it just drones a little bit, and then it just kind of
it kind of falls apart,
it has
right?
a little bit more, yeah, and it has a more interesting, a completely different ending to it, but it just mostly just goes on. There's no other lyrics or vocals on it. It's all just kind of the falling apart at the end.
Yeah.
I kind of picture Lewis, picking up the guitar and shaking it and laying it next to the amp and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Should we listen to the song?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so here we go.
Mistakes. Yeah, it's really a shame. And I really don't know, 'cause I don't wanna know what it was. Tell me when it's over. Tell me when it's over. Oh, let me know when it's done.
Great choice, Joy.
Oh,
Wonderful choice.
Pull me down out of the heavens.
Yeah, that's a good one.
dude, my mind is blown that was. I'm just like, I'm still thinking about it. That he just laid that down.
Yeah, right? I got that little tidbit. I told him, I didn't tell him what it was exactly for, but I said I wanted to, talk about that song. And I thought, I've been sitting on that for a week now. I've been dying to tell you.
I love it.
I'm so glad you inquired about that because that's awesome.
That's so beautiful. Boy.
Oh, I'm so obsessed with it. Absolutely
And that
obsessed
is
with
just
it.
a rocking song. Sorry. Just
If I can hear that live, well, I have two things that I can die happy. But this is one of them. This is one of them.
We need to make that request, and hopefully they will be playing live. Okay, so that brings us to track number 6 on the CD, right? So When You Smile by Rain Parade, doing that Dream Syndicate song. So Joy, you said side D is your favorite?
Yes.
So this is on side D.
Absolutely. It sure was.
Yep, because it's originally a Dream Syndicate song. It's a little bit different arrangement, and it's another one that has a cool false ending. It just goes into this really cool Rain Parade guitar freak out at the end. It's so cool. And, the guitar work on the original...
Yeah, definitely. They definitely changed it up. They the beginning of this, was this the one where the liner notes described it as menacing? I think it is. It's got all that feedback and stuff in it, and it does have that very menacing feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
But... And there's a little bit of that. They tip their hat to that at the beginning and at the end, of their version of it. But, I mean, definitely a more melodic interpretation and super Rain Parade-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Rain Parade-y. And I love that. But nobody does that as well as Rain Parade, Nobody takes that and makes this, melodic, I don't know, atmosphere that they create. And like I said, that side is my favorite right now.
Yeah, this one's really, really cool, the guitar stuff. And so this is one of the ones that is an interpretation that's the most different, I'd say, from the original. And
I would think so too.
Yeah, Pucci was telling us that when we had our conversation with him, that they were working through the arrangement and they flipped it and they did it in reverse. So I think he was referring to the chord progression is totally reversed from the original, which is really cool. And then this was another one where they brought in Debbie and Vicki Peterson on background vocals. So that's pretty cool. Right. Dean, did you want to add anything?
Right, I agree. I mean, how do you get better with the way the Rain Parade are great harmonizers?
Yep.
The only way you step that up is you add some bangles.
Yeah, exactly. A little sprinkle of bangles. Dean, did you want to add anything?
Well, no, actually, it's interesting because I just realized, is The Days of Wine and Roses the only album that, so all the Dream Syndicate songs are from Days of Wine and Roses, but everybody else kind of like went across the discography, but is that the only like single album that was focused on one of the bands?
I think it must be, because the Bangles...
It's an iconic album.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I own it.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
Show, but I don't have that one.
Joy, you said you don't have...
It's really interesting to hear all that. Days of Wine and Roses, and like, Joey was saying Side D being her favorite, it really just kind of goes back to like, is that kind of the album, is that, if there's one kind of Paisley Underground album that everybody seems to focus on, is that the album?
I think it is.
Yeah.
It is on this album.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure for me, but in terms of like everyday like life, no, not for me. Me, it's all 3 o'clock all the time. Although I'm a huge Bangles fan, love the EP, Bangles all over the place. Love, 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 love. That is the soundtrack. Those two bands are the soundtrack to my, teens and 20s. But I've got to remedy this problem, and I need to go pick up that album because my roommate had it, so I didn't have it. So I've been without Days of Wine and Roses for we won't say how many years.
Get it tomorrow.
right?
Yeah, I almost feel like I'm going to get on a Vespa and drive on over to you.
Oh,
Okay.
don't remind me of how dangerous that Vespa was.
Okay, so that brings us to track number 7, which is the Bangles doing Rain Parade's Talking in My Sleep. And Vicky, I think we've alluded to this, but Vicky in the liner notes describes Rain Parade as a band that paints with sound, which I think is a really cool way to describe them.
Ah, so perfect.
And what's interesting about the Bangles tracks is they did 3 songs, and one song Debbie sings, one song Vicky sings, and then Sue sings this song. So it's pretty cool that each one of them took a song to sing lead on, which is something that they do regularly, but I thought that was cool that out of these 3, that they each took lead on a song.
And they didn't go into it with that intention, right?
I don't think so. I think it just happened naturally.
No, I don't think they did either. I just love the way Sue's voice, especially if you listen to the original, which is, this is one of the ones I listened to today back to back, is she has kind of a lilt in her voice that he didn't have in the original. And, it's just so very Sue, but it works so well. And she's so, here's that word again, ethereal and dreamy sounding, and she does that little breathless thing with her voice. Oh, love it.
Yeah, her voice is really sweet, especially on this song.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite Bangles contribution
Oh,
to the
nice.
album.
It is a good one.
Great song. And then they have a guest artist on here playing tabla on. It adds that Eastern feel to it, bringing that instrument into it. So that's pretty cool. Okay.
Agree.
So this brings us to track number 8 on the CD, which was the song that I picked. This is the Dream Syndicate doing the Bangles' Hero Takes a Fall, which was originally written by Vicky Peterson and Sue Hoffs. And I thought it was, well, I'll read part of the liner notes that I thought was really interesting, and something that I learned about 6 weeks ago from our friend Greg, that he heard on a radio station from Austin, but it's confirmed here in the liner notes where Steve Wynn is talking, and he says, referring to their bass player, Mark Walton coming onto the tour bus one bleary morning and excited to tell me something he had just learned about Hero Takes a Fall, the first single that had just been released from the Bangles' debut album. He says, "It's about you, Steve." And he says, "Wow, I had mixed feelings. It's not exactly the kindest song, but it's also a pretty amazing pop single." And when he says it's not exactly the kindest song, let me read the lyrics to this. So the lyrics are, "The hero is exposed when his crimes are brought to the light of day, won't be feeling sorry, sorry, sorry on the judgment day. It wasn't me who said there'll be a price to pay, and I won't feel bad at all when the hero takes a fall. Your mother told you stories you substitute with girls who tell you more. Suddenly your sycophants are chanting slogans at your door. We're seeing you through now. I saw it all before, and I won't feel bad at all when the hero takes a fall. Emotion is a virtue. For you it is the old fatal flaw. Sitting on your throne, drinking and thinking, she'll return your call. Every story's got an ending. Look out, here it comes, here it comes. I won't feel bad at all when the hero takes a fall." And I'm like, ouch!
That's a kick in the gut.
Right? I don't know if this was from Vicky's feelings or from Sue's, since they co-wrote the song, but somebody was hurt, and it's ironic that Steve is singing the song that was written about him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to save my comment. Just play it. I'll save it for the after.
Okay, I'll go ahead and play it. I did want to note that the Dream Syndicate did play this as their encore when they played on October 21st this year at the Roxy in West Hollywood. This was their encore, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't make it to the show, but I thought that was pretty cool. And it was the only one of the 3 that they played. But anyways, let's hear it. This is Dream Syndicate doing the Bangles' Hero Takes a Fall.
The hero is exposed when his crimes are brought to the light of day. Won't be feeling sorry, sorry, sorry on the judgment day. Wasn't it me who said there'll be a price to pay, and I won't feel sad at all when the hero takes a fall. When the hero takes a fall.
So So that song also featured the Bangles' Vicki Peterson on backing vocals, and then also Steve's partner Linda Pittman on vocals too, on background vocals too. So that's pretty cool. So Joy, what were you gonna say about the song?
Well, this is one that did do it for me.
Okay.
I gotta admit, like I say, that big Bangles fan, that song soundtrack to my late teens, early 20s. I just didn't think it worked. However, I'll bet live it's great. I mean, I could just see him coming out for that encore and me going crazy, hearing that song.
Yeah.
But it's...
That's interesting.
I don't know.
Yep.
I think it's too much because I know the original, and the original is so close to my heart. But I love the delicious irony of it. And, even though I think, I don't know if his voice suits that song, I think, how could he not do it? He had to do this song.
You think so?
I just thought, and in the liner notes, I love when he said, well, then I wrote a song like in rebuttal to it too.
Oh my gosh.
I just thought it. Go ahead.
Wait, future thought, Joy.
Oh, I was going to say, I just don't see how he could just not do this song. Even though my puny opinion, I didn't think it worked as well as it could have. It was just perfect. I would have, if I were him, I would have done the song too.
Yeah, it's pretty gutsy too, because I don't see Paul McCartney doing "How Do You Sleep," so
Right? Maybe he should.
Yeah, get some closure there.
Yeah.
I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. Sorry, the Google rabbit hole, and I found the lyrics to the song that he said was kind of like the response. Sorry, Hero Takes Fall is that's yeah. It's a mouthful. His response is good, but not great.
Yeah.
Well,
now I know what I'm going to be doing after we get off.
there you go. It's in the corner.
I'm going to be up all night.
Everyone's got to go down.
Right.
All right. Well, that brings us to track number 9, which is a Bangles song. The Bangles doing the 3 O'Clock's Jet Fighter, and this was the first song that was released or pre-released to the public that we played on our episode with Danny Benair. And on this song, Debbie sings. I'm especially curious what you think, Joy, on this one.
Oh boy, if I was going to have an issue with any part of this album, it was going to be side T, because they are my band. They are my band, and this song is so iconic. I echo what you say, that when you hear some of these, you just know what needs to go where and how it needs to be done. And, when it's done a little different at first, you go, But I don't mind the guitar in place of the keyboards. So I that was good. And I pick up a little tad of an English or British kind of a sound to Debbie's voice, kind of the way Michael sounds, a little bit British. I remember when I first heard him, I thought he was British.
Yeah.
For a hot 5 minutes. But, yeah. And, it was, I liked the nod to the original cockpit vocals of, flying, yes, I feel so low. It sounds like she's singing through like an oxygen mask. I think they did a good job, but this song is iconic to me. And, I like it, but I don't love it. By the way, my husband likes it. So he loves himself a good cover. So
Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, it's funny that you call it, that's iconic, because I agree with that. But, it's like it follows Hero Takes a Fall, which I think is probably the more popular song. But I do think of Jet Fighter as being the iconic song of the batch here, where, like, if I think of that whole scene, it's like, yeah, Jet Fighter would be the one that would come to mind. And it's interesting because it does follow Hero Takes a Fall, which is, they're both, like, really overly, the two most overly familiar songs to me and many people in the whole album. And those are always the hardest ones to do because if they're, they've been played more on the radio. We've heard them in concerts. But I really think the Bangles nailed it. And I think just also because it was the first song that I heard from this, that was my first taste of it. It was like, yeah, this is what I really need right now musically, is like this sound by these people today.
Yeah, that's the way the whole album is for me. We needed that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, because I mean, it still sounds fresh. I mean, that's the thing. It's, you know, again, Jet Fighter, we've heard how many times, but it's still fresh.
Soraya, do you want to add anything?
They made it very Bangles, you know, and I think that's the hard part for me, is like, I wanted it to be hard, you know?
Yeah.
But not to say that I don't enjoy it, but I was like, okay, they made it Bangles.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good, but it's hard. You know, I can't say I love it just because that already belongs to the original.
But it's a good version. It's a good version. Like,
I agree. Yeah, good version. But I'll have more to say later. This side was hard. This side album was hard for me.
Like, this album is killer, and I think
so
you know, we could you know, nitpick a lot of stuff, but covers are great. This is exactly, just as Dean and you, Joy, have said, this is what we need right now. You know, and I'm gonna step off my soapbox before I say anything else. So we need good music, and this is it.
I agree. Okay, so let's move on to track number 10, which is The Rain Parade doing the Bangles' Real World. I did want to read a little bit from the liner notes on this one, where Matt Pucci says, "We chose the song because of the lyrics and the sweet use of the 5 minor chord. The lyrics are both innocent and mature. It's a great pop song, but it also has the ache." And then he goes on to say later, "There's a reason this band is immensely popular, and we adore this song. It seemed silly to try to sound anything like this, as if we could anyways. So we slowed it down, dropped the key. Vicky said when she heard it, it sounded so Rain Parade-y, and that made our day," which I thought was kind of cool.
Love it.
And you know what's funny is I popped it in, popped in the CD as soon as we got in the car after Freak Beat, and was listening to it on my drive home. And when that came on, I thought the same thing. Oh my gosh, that is so Rain Parade-y. And then when I came home and busted out the liner notes out of the album, I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, Rain Parade-y. That's exactly what it is.
So funny. So when I first heard the song, actually the first probably dozen times I heard the song, I thought it was Matt singing the whole way through. It wasn't till after several listens that I actually realized that Steven takes up the lead vocals on the second stanza, which I thought was really cool that they both took lead on this. And so it's a duet, they're swapping off, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I did too.
Anything else you guys want to add before we move on to the next one?
It's a fun version of this song.
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy it, but I think this is one of the eye openers for me on this album in particular is how Rain Parade really, for a lot of stuff, they're not afraid to kind of play around with the arrangement and have it be a real reflection of the spirit of their band. I think that sometimes it's a very, very delicate line to walk when you're doing a cover. Do I pay honor to it?
Yeah.
Keep it in the same key and pace and rhythm, or do I really take it to heart and really do a heartfelt version of it? And I really, I like it. I like this version of Real World because it is so Rain Parade. But I enjoy the fact that they really kind of push that boundary and, let their band speak, let it have a voice with someone else's material. I just liked it.
Yep, and I think they did that very successfully on this one. Okay, so track number 11 is the 3 o'clock doing Rain Parade's What She's Done to Your Mind. And so Lewis playing the 12-string Rickenbacker on this, so good. It sounds so
good. That bendy guitar thing he does, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I love hearing that 12-string guitar that he's playing. So this was one of the ones that Dean mentioned earlier, that there were some pictures and little video clips that the 3 o'clock put on their social media pages, and I saw Lewis playing that 12-string Rickenbacker guitar, and at the time I was thinking that it was going to be a new song, but I'm like, yes, there's that 12-string guitar. It's going to whatever he's recording, it's going to be awesome, and this is it. So.
Yeah, and again, how do you improve on the harmony that stages the 3 o'clock between Michael and Lewis can already add? Is add a few bells. So good. Oh, so good.
So
what I love is that in the liner notes, Michael says, we tried to keep this true to the original 45 version, but also added our own take on the song with varied guitar flourishes. Yeah, definitely the guitar flourishes.
There's some wild guitar sounds on Emergency Third Rail Power Trip anyway, yes. So, there's a lot to live up to if you're going to try to challenge that, and he did it.
Yep, I totally agree. And this was another one that...
Again, such a good knack for picking the right song for them to work with.
Exactly. I agree.
And this one also featured Susanna Hoffs on background vocals, which is pretty cool. So it's...
The Bengals are on...
So good.
They're also the only band that's on every track. Not every track, every band. So they're in every...
artist. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I just love that. That, again, this kind of family thing. They're all just, that they're cool with each other. Like, who knew? I just love it. Ugh.
That brings us to the very, very last song on the CD, which...
Okay, I'm going to take over here, Jack.
Okay, please do.
Because I know you have some strong thoughts. So the last song, track 12, is Dream Syndicate's version of She Turns to Flowers by who, Jeff?
The
original?
Salvation Army.
Okay, so elaborate.
So the thing that I took issue with on this song is I know when these bands were all playing together that it was the Bangs, the Dream Syndicate, Rain Parade, and Salvation Army. I get that, but the theme of the record was 3x4, and it was going to be these 4 bands doing 3 songs by the 3 o'clock, Rain Parade, Dream Syndicate, and the Bangles. And this is a Salvation Army song. It's not a 3 o'clock. So that's one thing that I kind of took a little issue with. I totally get why the song meant something to Steve, so I understand that. I just feel like they're not playing by the rules. and so Soraya,
so harsh.
Soraya, you're a professor, so I'm gonna give them a -1 for not playing by the rules. So it's still out of 100, so that's only one minus sign. But other than that, I'm gonna go back to what Joy said earlier on her feelings about the Dream Syndicate doing Hero Takes a Fall, which I loved their version of that. This one, I don't think actually worked, but if they did the song live, I bet Dream Syndicate kills this live. I can totally picture it. But the recording, I'm not really fond of their version on here. I don't feel like it works well, because it's a really punky song, and something about it doesn't actually have that punky feeling to me. But like I said, live, from what I've seen of Dream Syndicate playing live, I'm sure it sounds phenomenal. I don't think that they did this on any of the song on any of the tours, or any of the shows. But it's my least favorite, and I'm glad they put it last, because I think it would have messed up the tone and feel otherwise. But
yeah,
it's interesting that you say that, because now I don't have the issues that you have with the song as far as like the context and all of that. I think it makes a weird sounding last song. So I think as kind of a wrap up on the CD, I don't like the resolution with that song. It just doesn't. Whereas on the vinyl, When You Smile by Rain Parade just seems to be just. I love that as kind of my last feeling on the album.
Okay.
But Turns the Flowers, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me as a final statement.
Do you like the song though?
More than you, I think. Yeah, I don't again, I don't have like some of the issues about it. I definitely don't hold issue with the fact that it's not a 3 o'clock song. I think that it sounds earnest enough, and I get why he's doing it. I just think that as the resolution on the CD, I might not have picked that as the last song.
Fair
Although
enough.
I guess it makes it easier to skip.
Which, I don't do that though. I play it through.
I
do too.
What do you think?
Like I said, this side I was going to have trouble with. And I came by the Salvation Army after hearing either Baroque Hoedown or 16 Tambourine. Then I was like, oh, there was something before. And I was, a punk rock girl first and sort of went into the mod thing from there. So when I heard this, I loved it. I loved that album. That whole Salvation Army album is gold. I love it.
It is.
And I guess I don't have a problem with it being on because I like that you just like heard it. It was like, oh my God. And I felt too, but it didn't work that well for me. I just, it's not like musical assault. And I don't feel that like musical assault. And, to their credit, they called it chaos and said you can't, replicate chaos. And so don't try. And I get that. But I still think that maybe to me this one's a little too personal. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too biased.
How about you, Soraya? What do you think?
Look, I'll admit, when I saw the initial, I think when the Bengals Jet Fighter was released, it was released with an article promoting the upcoming release. And when I saw an initial track listing, when I got to She Turns to Flowers and Dream Syndicate, I thought to myself, that's going to be a mind blower. Because to me, the two fit. She Turns to Flowers, I could see Dream Syndicate just going off.
Just ripping into it, right?
Literally, because it has that meat for Dream Syndicate to take and just kind of go off on a tangent. And what I got was a version that didn't meet, I think, the expectation that I had in my head. And so,
that's a good way to put it.
I see Dean's point where it ends on a very odd note. The CD, at least, ends on an odd note. And I really think that more could have been done. But, like he said, he puts in the liner notes, chaos isn't meant to be replicated. So we just went for the song at the core of the explosion and then reattached the fuse and detonated in our own manner. So
yes, I can respect it that way. I can totally respect it, and I like that he chose it. I just I like the way you put that, Soraya. The expectation, maybe was just a little different than what we got.
I wanted them to go off, and
I fully expected it.
Yeah, and I was, I didn't have the issue of it's not a 3 o'clock song. But man, I was really kind of hungry for that. All right, man, let's see them just blow this up, and just didn't happen. And
I'll bet live it's great.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I'll bet they rip into it there. I'd love to hear that live.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Then again,
they blew me away at the Fonda.
That was a big...
I mean, he is such a performer.
Yeah, they're amazing live.
Incredible.
I would actually say that out of these 4 bands, in my opinion, Dream Syndicate are the best live act.
Did you say that before? Like, did you see them before Jason? And did you feel that? Or do you think Jason is that kind of that secret element there?
That was the first time I've seen Dream Syndicate. I never saw them before.
Jason brings so much to them. And actually, I mean, I never got to see Carl play, but Jason really breathes some life into those songs and makes those those very original guitar parts his own.
Yeah,
and that's not an easy task to do. But yeah, those guys are amazing to see live. Well, that's all 12 songs. Did you guys want to say anything in summary before we wrap up?
Buy this.
Yeah. And wait for the podcast when we talk about the concert that we are going to see of all these bands playing, which is going to happen someday, right?
Yes.
Because they're going to come back again, and they're going to play each other's songs and kind of we can all hang out again at a show.
Like we did.
Hey, I saw it in print. A couple isolated shows.
Yep, that's
A couple isolated shows. Danny claims it's in the bathroom. That's not true. I don't think.
So 5 years ago, the four of us were with other friends were up front at the Fonda show. We were all against the stage watching these four play live, and it was amazing. So let's do that again.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it because there's so much gold that these bands have to offer us.
Agreed. Yep, and this is...
It'll be 3x4x4 part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to add one last thing. And so I want to I actually want to tip my hat to Yep Roc, because I'm glad that they put this in. It looks like they really kind of told the bands, hey, bring in the people that you feel produce well for you and will be true to your vision. I'm happy I have this in my hand. And for those of you who don't know, the vinyl release is a colored vinyl release, and it's just such a beautiful thing.
It's gorgeous.
The record store release will be colored.
You know, it doesn't feel like legal interference.
At least from my vision, me sitting here, in a chair, just kind of looking it over, it didn't feel like it. It felt like, and I mean, the first rumblings of this of this album were right after the Fonda show.
Initially.
Of the Paisley Underground reunion. So what was that, 2013?
Yep, 5 years ago.
Okay, 5 years.
Crazy.
I mean, with the music industry and the way that it is right now, the fact that, obviously around many bands and touring and recording and blah, 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 that it took 5 years, I'm with you, Dean. It seems like they kind of let it happen organically and, gently guided them. And the contact that we've had, that Jeff and I have had with a representative of Yep Roc, because we tried to get some of the tracks before the record store day release. He was very, very kind and generous and really informative about this process.
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
He's pretty awesome.
Yes.
But, we tried, Joey. Trust me, we tried. But, I got to tip my hat to them because I think they put out a really, really great product. And, the reviews that we're starting to see and the attention we're starting to see is that people agree. And Dean, I'm with you. I want shows. Damn it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, we're so thankful, Dean and Joy, that you joined us for the conversation. Sorry about the difficulty of getting started. So, is there anything that you guys want to say before we sign off?
No, just thank you for including us.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
We're definitely going to have you guys back on after that live show, or those live shows.
Damn, great.
I'm in.
All right, Soraya.
We're in, yeah. All right, bye-bye.
All right, Soraya.
See you guys.
You take us out.
All right.
Okay, Soraya?
Yep.
You want to take us out?
Boom. People, go get this album. It is amazing. Thank you for listening. And as always, Agrubiar, gente.
Groove on, Paisley people. 3x4.
Later.
3x4x4. So let's give them a call. We'll give Joy a call.
Brilliant.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Dean. This is Jeff and Soraya. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm doing fine. How are you?
We're doing great. We're waiting for Joy to join the call.
Well,
Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Oh,
At the
Call her
tone,
again.
please record your
okay.
message.
We'll do
When
that.
you have finished recording, you may hang up or
Oh.
press 1 for more options.
I ain't gonna press no option.
Joy, get on the phone.
Hey, Dean, how's it going?
Hey, what's happening?
All good, man. Ready to talk some tunes.
All right, let's see if we can give her a call.
Dean left.
No, he's still here.
What's that?
It said Dean left the conversation.
Oh, no way. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I know. You're all in, all the chips.
Yeah, it's joy. It's all about joy.
We'll see if we can get her on again.
Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice system.
Hey, Joy. It's us. We'd love to talk to you. So we're going to keep calling until you answer our call. Not like in a creepy way, but in a good way. We love you. Bye.
But all this is going to be great for bloopers at the end of the episode.
I never thought I'd make the blooper reel.
You're on it.